Thought Leader Ads enables us to run a post from a personal profile as an ad with all of its social proof embedded, right? Like the likes, the comments, whatever. The B2B companies are figuring out they need to hire content creators, right? It's going to be more efficient and more profitable than your average SDR. The biggest difference between inbound and outbound is the returns that you get for the input that you put in. With inbound, doing one piece of content will always take you the same amount of time. But the kind of result, the amount of leads, so to speak, that you can get or conversions from a piece of content.
Welcome to the In the Pit podcast. I'm your host, Cody Schneider. Today, we're hosting my friend, Will Martin. Will is an expert in LinkedIn ads. He's going to give you a masterclass on how to structure your campaigns so that you're really effective with the budgets that you have available. And really just talk about everything LinkedIn. He's unbelievably knowledgeable about this stuff. The show is brought to you by Swell AI. Swell AI is content repurposing powered by AI. Just upload a video and it's going to make clips, blog posts, LinkedIn posts, Twitter threads, anything that you can imagine. The show is also brought to you by DraftHorse AI. DraftHorse AI is an AI-powered programmatic SEO tool. Upload a list of target keywords, and minutes later, you'll have long-form content ready that you can publish directly to your site. Finally, the show is brought to you by LandingCat.com, AI-powered programmatic SEO for e-commerce stores. They work directly with e-commerce companies to create tens of thousands of landing pages for all of the products that are within their catalog. All right, we're through the ad read. Let's get started with today's show.
Will, what's good, man? How you doing?
All good. It's stoked to be here.
Dude, I'm stoked, man. I can't wait for the audience. Will is like so deep in LinkedIn ads. You talk to founders and you record those like basically conversations and then turn those into ads and run them as LinkedIn ads campaigns. But you lay out what you do. I feel like you're going to do a way better job than I can ever try to explain it.
For sure. It all started when we started the agency Founder Video. We started doing video content, right? And the first value prop, so to speak, was back then when podcasters weren't on video yet. So we took their footage, create videos from that, leverage short form content platforms, right? TikTok, IG, whatever. And the main goal was purely to get more reach for the podcast, right? Or for the show. That we started working with business owners. We realized that a lot of them didn't have that long form piece of content to pull clips from, but they wanted more reach as well, and they wanted to play the short form content game. We came up with this idea of what we call the guided interviews. This was like, I don't know, October 2022, if I'm not mistaken. I figured, okay, so they don't have long form piece of content to pull clips from. Let's just record it with them. And so we did that. It was basically I prepare the questions, right? Have a normal conversation. That conversation doesn't get uploaded. And then from that, we take clips. And then as we started doing more interviews, we closed more clients and we started to tap into clients that came from LinkedIn. And so one of them, I have to say, was all because James Watson told me, you got to go into LinkedIn, man. There's a big opportunity here. If you combine that with paid, you get way more control over the kind of results that you can get with those videos. And so we started that's when I got deep into LinkedIn ads. And then that very summer 2023 rolls out a feature, like a new ad type that's called the Thought Leader ads, which enables you to run an ad using a post of a person.
I'm obsessed with them. It's insane. So what are these thought leadership ads?
Yeah. So basically, LinkedIn ads has been running since 2010, 2000 something. And since then, the only thing you could do for ads was to promote posts from a company page. Because LinkedIn was all about creating more company pages to get more data for companies. But now, Thought Leader Ads enables us to run a post from a personal profile as an ad with all of its social proof embedded, right? Like the likes, the comments, whatever. And the only way you can tell it's an ad is through the line that appears below your headline. So you got the profile picture, name, headline, and then there's a line that says promoted by name of the company, right? Most people cannot even tell it's an ad. They stumble upon it in their feeds, and they stop and watch it because they think it's an organic post that they stumble upon because someone in their network liked it or whatever.
Totally. So and you can do these ads to your ICP. So like you can basically imagine a piece of video content, what Will is describing, just to say this a different way. Record this piece of video content talking about whatever the industry or the product is. Then your target ICP, you have this post basically show up in their feed. That's you, the founder, talking about whatever it is your product is. And then you can remarket to them like over and over again. So they're just constantly seeing content from you, which creates this like inbound lead funnel. Cool.
Totally. That's why we call ourselves Founder Video, right? Like that. We changed the name. We started doing LinkedIn ads and whatnot because most founders, they're not active on LinkedIn. They're 100%. Doing super great stuff. They're scaling companies. They've been in the industry for how many years, whatever. And when I started interviewing them, I figured there's so much in these people's brains. It's not going out in any form. And the guided 100%. Interviews makes it so easy for them because They've never been on video. They haven't been doing content. They don't understand social media in a lot of cases, or some of them don't.
Or they just don't have time. That's a huge, it's just a bandwidth thing. Like, I don't have time to sift through all of my thoughts and be like, oh, those are bangers. Let me test these against each other. And I feel like that's like a part of what you guys do super effectively is, cool, here's an hour long transcript or whatever. And like, where are the actual kernels of unique ideas that we can pull out from that?
It definitely helps a lot it's an exercise for clients as well, because they need to figure out, what are my content pillars? What do I need to be talking about? And the interview, like while you're recording, you realize on the spot, actually, let me reframe it this way, or you come up with new insights that you wouldn't come up otherwise.
Totally.
It's because it gets you in the flow. It gets you in what we call the zone.
So, yeah. 100%. Cool. So on the tactical side with these ads, is there an actual name for the ad type? I haven't been able to find it, but
the name, the ad type is thought leader ads, basically.
It's literally thought leader ads. Okay, cool. So for these thought leader ads, are you guys going for engagement? Are you going for traffic? What's the optimization you're doing, like on the low tactical level? Yeah,
on the tactical level, you have two objectives for thought leader ads right now, which are engagement and brand awareness, right? Brand awareness, you only bid by CPM, and the only point of them is getting you impressions at the lower cost, right? We usually always go with engagement. I have found a few, but to not say any use cases for brand awareness objective. We've tested it, and it's just not, you get your best bang for your buck with engagement objective, right? Because you can bid by engagement, of course, you don't bid by CPM, and therefore you can get more impressions cheaper if your creative is good enough. So that's on the tactical level.
So as the engagement happens, then the shares start to occur. The ones I've been running and testing with this, I've only been doing this for 6 weeks, so I don't have a huge data set yet. Get the organic engagement to happen, and then that'll happen over like a 24-hour period. And then I'll go back and edit the post and add 2 call to actions to the bottom of the copy of the post. So I'll do follow me at Cody Schneider, and it's like the hyperlinked back to the profile for more content like this. And then I'll also say something like, sign up for Swell AI for content repurposing powered by AI, or content marketing powered by AI. Sign up for free at swellai.com, and then link out to that from there. And then I'll run the ads once I've done those changes. Are there any things like that you guys are doing that you're seeing be effective for the companies, or any other kind of the tactical things?
We're now buying tools to be able to edit the client's post afterwards it's posted without having to enter their personal profile, right? That way we get control over adding links, CTAs, stuff like that. And otherwise it gets banned, 100%. So you need to change it. And what we see is it not only drives traffic, but most people will tell you that thought leader ads is not the best way to drive website traffic. And I can agree with that, to the extent that thought leader ads are meant more so to get in-platform conversion, so to speak, out of a zero-click experience, because you're not necessarily asking the user to take an action that takes them off platform. You want them to engage, you want them to consume so that you can retarget them. The signals that you get from these thought leader ads that a lot of companies are not even able to grasp, or they don't think about them as in, oh, that's actually a signal that I can take for sales, or that it's moving the needle forward.
Or they DM you and that turns into an inbound lead, like that type of thing as well. Totally.
DMs, profile visits, followers, comments, likes, people that like comments that are already in the post, but they don't like the post itself. You got to be in the lookout for that kind of stuff. And if you're on top of it, you get a ton of them. Like it's 100%. It's crazy,
and then you go and do outbound to those people that have already engaged. So talk to me about the funnel, the layers of this. So you do this pillar content at the highest level, chop it up into clips. You're then posting it across socials. You're then boosting those posts. Everybody that consumes that content is then put into a remarketing audience. What happens below that? What are the other things you're layering on top of this that you're seeing be effective?
So you got many different conversion events that you can run, but what we see is usually like the best combo for us. It's basically what you just mentioned. After a retargeting campaign, showing them videos to the people that have watched at least 50% of one of the videos in the cold layer, then to those, we either run an outbound to after they have gone through a retargeting layer of many other different creatives.
Cool. So they see like 10 other videos, hypothetically. So they see this top of funnel one, whichever your most banger one is, they 50% consume, and then we're showing them 10 other videos, and then you'll do like a LinkedIn.
You can do click to message ads, which basically it's an ad that appears in feed and prompts them to message you. Or what we basically is just run outbound like directly, because we usually tend to upload audiences into LinkedIn. If you have good sources of data that you can normalize the columns with, like you get a CSV from, let's say, a poll, you verify it, whatever, and what's precise laser target is the same list that you would use for cold email or whatever. You change a little bit the columns to match the fields that LinkedIn needs. And usually it's not that hard if you verify the list to get a 90 and above % match rate with contact list uploads. And then that very same list that you're running ads to a month and a half later to the ones that have ideally watched. Because
it's warm at that point. So if the founder, they just listen to John talk to them day after day on platform for the last, 6 weeks, and they get a cold email from that same person that they've just seen. That's a warm lead at that point that you've basically just created.
Some people might argue, okay, the thing is, I cannot de-anonymize people that have watched more than 50%, create an audience inside LinkedIn and run ads to them as retargeting. But how do I know who has watched more than 50% to then outreach to them? Pretty simple. You're targeting usually 1 or 2 job titles, right? And you can get the company level impressions and engagement from LinkedIn directly or from third-party tools to know what accounts or what companies are engaging the most with your retargeting clips, right?
Totally. You then you can know these 5 BDRs that are at XZ company that we saw views, even though they're anonymized, we can connect that data to get. Dude, that's so awesome. I live for these conversations.
Another thing that we're doing to make sure that they know about us, apart from watching the ads, there's a thing, a lot of people don't know about this on LinkedIn ads. And it's a trick that it's underused usually. And for some audiences, it takes a little bit of tweaking to get the most out of it, but that is text ads. Text ads are something that appear on the side rail, on the right side of the LinkedIn feed. And it's basically, for people that know, it's a profile picture, 600 by 600. And then you get a one-liner, I think it's 30 characters. And then below that, a small copy of 60 characters or something, or 55. Those have a super low CTR, right? Like most people don't click on them unless you're like Chili Piper, maybe you whatever. What we do is, instead of putting the company logo, which is what most companies do, we put the profile picture of the person that we have been running ads from. The person that John, who's been doing videos, we put the very same profile picture that they have, we put that in the text ad. And in the text ad, we put some copy, and then sometimes it's hard, but it's summarizing the whole value prop that they have. So for example, in our case, it's get videos that prospects actually want to watch, for example. You put that and you bid only $2 per click, which is the minimum bid for text ads. Nobody clicks, but you get the
free impressions
because you only get charged on the click.
My friend Yo does this. He just runs multiple campaigns that are all at the min bid. So it's 20 different of these. I mean, he's basically just getting unlimited free impressions on the platform is what happens.
Or you can get a couple clicks here or there, but what we've seen, CPM doesn't go anywhere above 50 cents. If
100%,
that,
which is the cheapest CPM that exists on LinkedIn, which is insane. Super interesting. Are you guys doing any like automation components of this as well? Automatically reaching out to your ICP, like for example, using Phantom Buster and having that run in the background. I was just curious if there's any other of these other things that you're layering, or is it mainly just the LinkedIn ads piece that you're doing for people?
Usually we don't, but if with some clients that if they give us a CRM access, then it's a whole different data from LinkedIn ads. It especially works for us to show attribution and give visibility to what's impacting the pipeline from LinkedIn ads. Thought leader ads, of course, is a zero-click experience. It's not meant to be trackable, or at least not as trackable as some basic performance marketing could be, as Legion forms or whatever. But when you get CRM access, it's pretty cool because you can pull the data from the LinkedIn API, from the LinkedIn ads, right? The impressions at the company level, engagement at the company level, CTRs at the company level, and every other metric that you want to at the company level. And then you match that with all of the companies that you have in your CRM per stage. Not only this does allow to run ads to people that are pre-close, invoice sent, stuff like that, and target an entire buying committee, but also it can help you see what's happening, what's actually moving the needle forward.
Okay, I didn't even think about getting this plugged into your SEM.
I want to drop something super important that a lot of people have been, it's a sort of a myth that I want to debunk, that it's basically everyone says LinkedIn ads are expensive. And our take to that, it's that sure, most people can say that because 92% of companies outrunning Legion forms, from 100%. Company pages to a cold audience. And with max delivery on, which is the automatically LinkedIn, there's 3 options for bidding, right? Maximum delivery, cost cap, and manual bidding. Manual bidding is what we always use. And manual bidding is, funny enough, the only one that's hidden. You gotta collapse to use it. And
is so that most just because you're just trying not to rip through the data, rip through your budget? So it'll spend half of the monthly budget in 3 days, right? Which like there's no learning period that's happening during that period, like that whole time.
Exactly. So maximum delivery, for those that don't know, it's you basically telling LinkedIn, charge me as much as you need in order to win all of the auctions to get my ads served to this audience.
What is the bid you're doing then? Like let's see that you're going in for these clients. It depends on the industry or...
It really depends on the audience. It's not the same. If you're targeting Fortune 500,
totally.
If you're targeting B2B SaaS, you would say it's completely different. And for engagement with thought leader ads, it can go from $3, $5 to $12. Sometimes they tell you if you're bidding to an audience that's small enough, 5,000 members or so, and it's pretty qualified, like C11 and above and whatever, it might tell you like, go bid $10 to $20. But we never go that route. Like we usually always try to go the lowest. And then if it doesn't spend, I'll adjust it. I'll check campaigns daily. So it doesn't matter. Like you got to be on top of it. But with maximum delivery, it's as if, I like this analogy a lot because people understand it way better. It's like you go to an auction to buy paintings and you tell your agent, go bid 50 million so that I can buy all of the paintings. It doesn't make any fucking sense. And most people turn it on. And that's how companies are able to spend, like marketing teams are able to spend all of their budgets year on year. And then
do nothing
because they have last touch, multi-touch, whatever, they can say it's working. But it helps you if you want to spend your budget fast. Like that's the only, and the only way in which it's actually efficient, it's if you have a CTR above like 1.5% for company page ads and 3% or so for thought. Otherwise, it's not worth putting the maximum delivery on.
Totally. So when you're pulling the data out, I'm just thinking, so I use Supermetrics for a lot of my data pipeline stuff to do data analytics. I move it into Looker Studio or what used to be
Google Data
Studio. Yeah. And then basically pull from there. So can you pull that data from like a data source like that from the LinkedIn ads API? And then that's where you're looking at the company data that showed, here's the percentage to this company of total ad impressions, et cetera, that type of thing.
Yeah, to pull it to another app, you need a Supermetrics because it connects to the API. But inside LinkedIn itself, you can take a look natively at the level engagement.
Totally, without another external tool.
But yeah, Supermetrics has a connection with the API.
Is there a different one you guys like or you're using? And for people that don't know, Supermetrics, I have a grandfathered account. I'm paying like $129 for unlimited everything. I will hold this subscription to the day I die. It's now like for the same thing. I think it's $19 a month. Yeah, or something insane. But anyways, is there another tool that you guys have seen that's like maybe more cost effective or better, cheaper for this for people?
I would say to anyone that wants to use any reporting, analytics, whatever tool for LinkedIn paid, go with any tool that's partnered up with LinkedIn. So they have a list of LinkedIn marketing partners, right? And if you don't get one of those, you're not going to get access to all of the data, right? On the priciest end, you got Hockey Stack, of course, because Hockey Stack can pull data from LinkedIn as much as you want. But on the lower end,
yeah, man. So can you tell me about the organic? So a friend just sent me this data. I don't even know what he would want to call it. He like does like business type content for Instagram and TikTok. Apple just released Apple Intelligence and blah, blah, blah. This is literally a post he just did. So he just sent me data 3 days ago and he did 300,000 organic impressions on LinkedIn with only 2,700 followers on his account. And it's literally just doing that video content that he was doing on like Instagram and TikTok there. So anyways, I was like, immediately I saw this, I was like, how'd you get 300 racks in 7 days on the platform? And so it looks like they're starting to roll out, like LinkedIn's rolling out like a TikTok, their own version of TikTok. This just dropped like a month and a half. Oh yeah, totally. So can you talk to me about that, what you guys are seeing on the data side?
That's insane. Awesome. Yeah. That's another validation. We saw it, like Thought Leader Ads was rolled out last summer. And now we have basically a TikTok feed inside LinkedIn for US users. I think I don't have it myself because I'm based in Spain, but my partner has it. We seen it like 2 months ago or so from a client that got access to the beta. And you were doubtful about video dominating social media. That's the proof, right? In terms of impressions for organic and whatnot, I would say 300K in 7 days is wild, to be honest, at least to me.
Because I think what my current thesis is that there's a vacuum on LinkedIn for video content that's actually good. So if you're a creator and you're doing this on whatever, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram Reels, and you're having success there, if you port that content over and you're doing this business type content, it's just going to absolutely rip on LinkedIn, massive blue ocean that nobody else is in. So I was just curious if that's something that you guys are starting to think about when you're doing this with your clients, is like almost even structuring, like doing scripting or structuring them, like recording videos to make a hook and then roll them through that type of thing and then do the edits on top of that.
I would encourage everyone, like whoever has been doing short form video service, the scripting and editing and all of that stuff for YouTube, TikTok, IG, whatever, bring it to LinkedIn as well. Like it's going to work. It's going to work and way better than other platforms. If it's business related, B2B stuff, like
totally,
definitely going to work. And I think that blue ocean that you mentioned, it's interesting to explore if you speak all the languages as well. Because my biggest post, like the post that had the most reach, was one that the video is in English, but the copy was in English at first. And then like, I don't know, 2 months later, I changed it to Spanish. to run it as an ad to Spanish companies because we are expanding. Like I'm Spanish, right?
Yeah,
so
totally.
we're trying to get clients in Spanish too because of course, like nobody's doing, if there's a few people in the English market doing what we do, imagine in the Spanish market, right?
Totally.
It's totally. And I tweaked the copy to Spanish in 2 posts and those keep farming impressions like crazy. Like I keep getting impressions from that. One has it's like at 17,000 and I usually get below 1,000 per post in the English market. So that's also worth exploring. Whether you speak languages, whether your clients can be advertising in other countries or whatever, leverage that because someone said, and I think it was 2020, 2021, don't quote me on this, but the stat used to be that on LinkedIn, about 92% or 98% of people don't post every month or so. And then only 2% post every week. About 0.5% or so of people only post daily. So if you take those stats, that's from the English market compared to any other language, skyrockets.
Man, that's wild. Can you talk to me, like, what do you see happen to revenues when you like run this whole funnel that you guys are doing? Like the attributable revenue. Do you have any case studies or just some of the successes you've seen?
For sure. Our base case study is ourselves.
How old is your company? 2 years.
I started doing content on LinkedIn September 22nd. Posted organically up until April. We started running ads. Last 90 days, we spent below 2,000. We got 6 deals in, just like that.
What's your customer lifetime value?
Around 15 or something.
And
but why though?
That's
because
like like a 15x return on ad spend.
Yeah, crazy. For clients, it's more about pipeline because we don't control how much they close. And so we usually focus on delivering
how much pipeline do you generate?
Know.
What do you see like for an average client?
For
the first like 90 days. So you're 3 months into it, like it's starting to rip. Like, what are you seeing on that type of?
Depends on the ticket. The last one, it was Q4 last year, generated 150,000 in pipeline from, 7,000 in ad spend or something. Yeah, it's pretty cool. The problem though, they have a pretty long sales cycle and they said, I think they were closing in like about 3 months or so, but at a even 25% close rate, we only spent 7,000. I was about to say, the reason why I think our ads worked so well and we got profile visit, followers, deals, inbound DMs, people wanting me to do ads for their company, that kind of stuff. I think it was mainly because we had so much content to run ads. Like I had months of organic posts that I could run as thought leader ads. I think we have 96 ads.
All running simultaneously. Are you optimizing down? We'll do a post a day for 30 days. We run those against each other and then we'll optimize down to the top 10% or whatever.
Just like in any other platform, you want to optimize and weed out the losers fast. At least I consider like they need to have spent around $50 to $100 per creative to actually rule it out. If you have lower budget like costs, then you got to take decisions faster. But right now, I think we have active 40 or 50 or something, like about half of them. But yeah, having that many videos is just crazy how you probably, one of our clients that close out of the ads, keep saying, every time I go into LinkedIn, I see your face.
And what does that do? You just own the feed over time. I don't think people realize like how positively you can affect sales by just owning as much mental real estate of that entire company, like of your ICP as possible. Like a strategy I've used in the past is like go scrape everybody like at a company that you're trying to sell to. Like cold email every person there. Like it doesn't even matter if they're like the decision maker. Then go invite all of them to connect and then also run ads to that same group of people. That your company will become top of mind. And then when you're a lot of the time that leads into some type of conversation that'll come from that. So
100%. Yeah. For us, what we've seen running a marketing agency, it's that sales and marketing, they just don't talk to each other in a lot of cases, especially when you go above the 50 employee mark. It's crazy how there's a lot of office politics and stuff. So if you outreach to sales, like for us, that's been one of our best way to get our foot in the door because you're speaking to their pain, what they're going through. It's sales receiving bad leads from marketing, whatever. Marketing doesn't know how to get best leads.
So you're using sales to cross-sell into marketing. Is that what's happening? Yeah, totally.
What you mentioned about targeting the entire company. Look, this might sound delusional, but for me, that's what I've been doing on LinkedIn too. Like big companies that have a bunch of account executives and stuff, take ZoomInfo, Zendesk,
there's like 300
Asana,
VPs,
whatever.
I'm going to market the entire company.
Biggest client we had was ClickUp. We did an engagement with them. I'm not saying, I'm here to close like in 5,000 or whatever, but hey, like for what it's worth, what do I lose by forming a connection with an account executive at an account that, hey, today might be too big, but then that account executive moves to another company. He already knows me. He wants my service. He knows it's good for their company. He's going to push it. We've had that case, someone that we talked to and they were like the champion, right? They wanted to have that service in their company, but they didn't have the buying power, the decision.
Totally.
They didn't manage to convince the team, get budget. But then they move to another company and then they have you in mind. You outreach to them again or someone in their company by happenstance. And boom, there you go. It pays off, right? Got to be always forming connections. I think building relationships and relationship-based selling, that's not going to die in 10 years or whatever. 100%.
Right? That's been going on since the beginning of just business, right? It's like building that trust. Can you talk about how you're seeing, like, how are you communicating this cross? Because like traditionally, especially in B2B, like sales and marketing are like within the organization and there's not a lot of cross communication that's happening. There's this whole movement for like account-based marketing and demand gen. We throw around these words that are just like a rebranding of it's just marketing, right? It's marketing and sales. That's all we're doing. It's just a new name for it. But how are you communicating that to these organizations so that they like have the light bulb moment at seeing, oh, this is how this can be effective for us, like on a marketing side and on a sales side? Or what does that look like when you're communicating it? So I think that for a lot of people, they're trying to figure out how to have these conversations.
So you mean how we communicate what we do or how to
really
communicate?
Just like how are you saying marketing and sales should be working together and talking to each other? What is that? Are you having those conversations? What does that look like?
It's tough. The way you say it is by scheduling a meeting, putting them together and saying, hey, we need to get this done. Most importantly, I think the biggest lever that you can pull in order to have these uncomfortable conversations is to know what touches people and how to make them feel to you. If you manage to do that in private with team members and stuff, it's going to be way easier to pull the bright strings so that on the outside, everything can work like properly, right?
Totally.
Like
on that cross
level.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, exactly. 100%.
Like you gotta, it's tough. Sometimes it feels like babysitting.
Dude, 100%. You know, like therapy. You're not there honestly, to do that. But there's probably a company in there and it's literally just like sales and marketing therapy. Like you just intermediary between the both.
When I knew about the SLA stuff, service level agreements, that they, not for clients, but like that they do between sales and marketing to agree on what a lead is, what a qualified lead is. Like you got to sign a contract for that. It's so passive
in the
aggressive.
In the same organization. That's like for a lot of people. So are you guys mainly working with startups right now currently? Who are you seeing adopt this? Early stage companies, probably C to Series A, like that type of, or even B, I'm guessing, maybe C, but.
It can be even B. It can be even B, but past the Series B, I would say, and this is what most demand generation gurus, go-to-market strategy stuff, they say that up until like past Series B, implementing this kind of stuff creates so much friction, right?
Yeah,
there's too many people, there's too many processes in place. Totally. It's tough. So if you want to do this...
So if you're at like employee size 30 people, like something around there is like this, where you're seeing this, or even bigger, like up to 100?
We usually target 50 to 200, but usually it falls below 100, to be honest with you. And because the easiest way to implement this is committing to it right from the get-go. And actually, if you take a look at what kind of companies are implementing this type of playbook, mostly seed to Series A, and not even that, right? Like early stage companies. Why? Because usually the founder is younger, so they understand that thing.
Yep, totally.
And second, they're new. They got to figure out like what is the best way to go to market today. Because I need to figure out go to market today. You know,
how do I make the world know I exist within my niche?
Exactly.
100%.
And they're forced to apply this playbook.
No, that's
a couple companies that I think are doing like Capsule, for example, it's pretty low key because they didn't even, I think they're launching in a month or so, but it's an interesting video tool that I think it looks promising. Hockey Stack, of course, they've been doing this like really great stuff. Like they have the whole team posting on LinkedIn. You got GTM Fund. They've done super great stuff as well. SendSpark create a lot of video. And now they have a new head of sales that was a backing deal as an account executive. And she does a lot of video as well and TikToks and stuff. Cognism also has done great work with that, with Morgan as a thought leader, a content creator for them. The B2B companies are figuring out they need to hire content creators, right? It's going to be more efficient and more profitable than your average SDR. You would hire 5 SDR before you hire 1 content creator.
Yeah, 100%. Do you feel like the SDR role is being eroded? Like with the crossover between AI and what's happening with social selling, like where do you see that going in the next 2 to 3 years?
This idea of going back to the fundamentals of business development and understanding that someone that sells needs to be someone that has industry expertise, connections, an experience, not someone that knows less about the product than
the person reaching out to. Yeah.
Right? Like
I read this Harvard Business Review study. The average B2B buyer found that they knew more than the salesperson they were talking to 80% of the time when they were on calls with. And I was just
That's
like,
tough.
I remember reading that and just being like, dude, what are they doing? And it makes sense, right? Like you can go and you can discover all the information that you need about a product, company, or service online. So they're no longer a gatekeeper in that information. And traditionally they used to be, right? And I think if you take what you guys are doing as well and probably apply it in these like more traditional categories, like I'm just thinking like trucking or logistics or any of these places where they're years behind what's happening in B2B SaaS, just crush the industry because there's nobody else that's even in the ballpark of what you're doing.
We think about this a lot of times, how to tap into underserved markets. I realize there's a fine line between taking someone from 0 to 1 or taking a market from 0 to 1 level of sophistication type of hoarding all of the profit in that transition or most of it. Just like you mentioned, take someone from logistics or a traditional industry, whatever, you put them in this playbook, they're going to crush it. But there's a fine line between that and then having a messaging problem. It's tough. The deeper you go into the underserved, like the more underserved they are, the harder it becomes to
convince them to want this thing rather than them wanting this thing. And it probably is a higher value long term, but that's not going to make revenue in the next 30 days or the next 60 days for you.
Definitely not. You got to work on it. But if you work on it, it can be huge. And one analogy back to the SDR thing and how it's going to evolve, I think I saw this from James. I forget his last name every time, but the founder at Erudit, he just closed his outbound agency. And now he's all about inbound, generating demand and then capturing your own demand. And he did this analogy first, and I think it's so spot on. So you watched Mad Men, the show?
Of course.
Pete, how he's able to source his own deals and go talk to the people that he's not supposed to talk to and that kind of stuff. So I think that is going to be like what a company will ask from an account executive. Someone that is able to get their own prospecting data, prospect by their own or create inbound, whatever, and then closing themselves. Having impact also on how CS handles the client. Because that's another transition that most AEs don't handle properly, which is, I closed, now I don't need to worry about it.
Totally.
No, you got to inform CS, what's the situation, why did they close, what do they want from the product, how to shorten the time to value, etc. And then once CS has it, you cannot forget about them. A good AE follows up with their deals closed, like month in, 2 months in, 3 months in. Hey, how are you doing? How can I help? Do you like the product? Otherwise, you're not, passing the bridge between CS and sales. So someone that is able to do that, I'm for the BDR function instead of SDR as an AE, like instead of go and find your own prospecting data, which is good. You can do that as well and have your own like account planning and prospect on the daily, which I think it's awesome. You got to hunt, even if it's just to refine your messaging and get feedback from the market faster. But also the most important core of that strategy, I think it's driving inbound by your own. Be an evangelist for the company. Your company goes first. And when you do that and you publish content that's relevant to your peers, you talk to the people inside your target accounts that are facing the problems that you solve. And then you're going to create that on demand. You're going to be able to generate more pipeline than anyone else because you have, I think the biggest difference between inbound and outbound is the returns that you get for the input that you put in. With inbound, the amount of leads, so to speak, that you can get or conversions from a piece of content, it's exponential. Whereas the amount of leads that you can get or closes that you can get with outbound, it grows linearly, right? With the cost. Like every time you want to get another response, you either need to put in more domains, you need to put in more hours, you need to put in more time, whatever. So I think that's where I think sales is going. Truly given the need for efficiency.
Talk to me. Where can people want to reach out to you? Where can they find you? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
For sure. Yeah. Find me on LinkedIn, Will Martin, founder video, linkedin.com/in/Will-Martin-founder video. You can also find the Founder Video podcast, both on Spotify and YouTube. Have an episode with Cody as well, if you want to listen to it. And yeah, that's pretty much about it.
Awesome, man. Sweet. We'll link that in the show notes as well. And yeah, guys, reach out to Will if you want to do this. He's absolutely a G in everything related to LinkedIn ads. So thanks again for coming on, man. This is awesome.
Appreciate that, Cody. It's been a pleasure,
awesome.
man. Thank you for having me. Okay, see ya. Bye.